Tell us about Fox Haven Village, and did you sell this?
Well, I'm not the listing broker for the residential subdivision, but yeah, I represented the little old lady from Albemarle. Gosh, she had this property listed for 10 years. I think it went from me to another broker, and then back to me. And sometimes it's better to be fourth than first. And I was there at the right time. I mean, she was always ambitious as far as her price was concerned. We were real close to $1 million. I think it was 980,000, and it was 184 acres, and it was twixt and tween some modest neighborhoods, and because she actually had some roads going into it, it was very common for people to come in and drop off their trash and everything. But it actually fronted Highway 64, just a smidge of it fronted Highway 64, and the megasite developer knew that it'd be more attractive. So they have this megasite for industry, but Siler City lacked some housing opportunities, residential housing opportunities. So the developer decided that he needed some land for residential right across the street, almost across the street, Highway 64. He utilized it, Scott Harris as his buyer's agent, and so they made an offer on it, and it wasn't a bad offer considering we're 10 years on the market. I mean, it's literally, that's how many days on the market it is, 10 years, and I probably had it for a little over a year. And the seller was the sweetest lady ever. I met her in her house in Albemarle. She had this artwork from the 1700s, paper mache, and there's paper mache vegetables up on the wall and everything. She was really, she had Tiffany lamps and everything, just a neat person and everything. Well, she was living there on her own. Of course, she had a fall, and she ended up being sent to a home. And she had a good friend that was her power of attorney and representative, but he always made sure that she was the one. Even though he had the POA, he consulted with her, and she had to make the decision. And her last name was Fox, and she had actually made a sign. And when I visited her in Albemarle, I'll never forget this, she made a sign. It was Fox Haven, and that was what she wanted the name of the subdivision to be. And so we go back and forth with these offers, and I can't remember. I think it came in like $850, and I was like, she's like, the price is $980, and so I got to call Scott, and I'm like, hey Scott, she's firm on the asking price, and he's like, yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to get him to go up to that. And I'm like, I understand. And so Scott comes back at like 900. And the unfortunate thing is, like, it was taking me a week to get a response at a time because it had to be when the POA was able to meet with her at the home. So it's like a week at a time. And Scott's calling me, and then the developer, he doesn't get stuff done by sitting around on his fanny. So he's like, Eric, we got a deal or not? I mean, he's calling me directly. I'm like, hey, I'm supposed to be talking to Scott and everything. He's like, yeah, but I need to know, is this going to happen? I was like, she said 980. I don't know. And he's like, I'm not paying full price for land. I'm like, yeah, I get you. It's been on the market for 10 years. I'm like, yeah, I understand. And so she comes back and she's like, and I'm like, 900. Now, 900 is a good, I mean, if this is the most anybody's ever gotten land out here, this is a good price. What do you think about the 900? She's like, 980. and then, so Tim goes up, the buyer, and Scott calls me and says, okay, the buyer said, yeah, 980, let's do it. All right, 980. I call her up, she's like, I think I want $1 million. I was like, you listed it at 980. You can't do this to me. You can't do this to me. And she's like, no, I really want to walk away with $1 million. So after you guys are paid, I want $1 million. I was like, Miss Fox, please. I mean, this is the asking price. I'm getting you everything you want. And so Scott calls me. He's like, so Eric, we have a deal at 980. I'm like, yeah, I don't know, Scott. And he's like, come on, seriously. And the buyer developer's like, I've never paid full price for a piece of land. I was like, yeah, well, and so he's like, what's it gonna take? And and Miss Fox calls back and she's like, well, I always wanted this property to be called Fox Haven subdivision. If he does that, I'll sell it to him for $980. And I was like, now, Miss Fox, if he buys this land, he can call it whatever he wants. You know, there's no obligation. She's like, well, I trust him and everything. So I call up Scott, call up Tim. I say, you know, she's doing it, but you got to call it Fox Haven. And he's like, yeah, all right, whatever, you know. And I'm like, you know, he doesn't have to do it. And sure enough, a few months later, front page of the paper, Chatham News and Record, Fox Haven subdivision announced, da da da. So definitely a man of his word. I'm glad that it looks like he may have anchored a huge occupant for the mega site. So that's where hopefully Wolfspeed is going in, and you know, hopefully Fox Haven helped him out.